Well, in most of the world, more men are connected to the internet than women. And in Africa, this gender gap is widening. That's according to ITU, the United Nations agency tracking the ICT sector. To understand why, VOA hit the streets of Nairobi, the Kenyan capital, and sat down with Nanjira Sambuli, who leads advocacy to promote digital equality in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America for the World Wide Web Foundation. Here's VOA's Mohammed Yusuf.
The digital gender divide is real and it's actually increasing. And even just from research alone that we've done at the Web Foundation, we've found that women are 30 to 50% less likely to be online. And even once online, they're less likely than men to use it for social, economic, political empowerment. So some of the causes that lead to this digital gender gap or divide range from even offline inequalities or previous inequalities actually replicating online. So anything from income, how much income men versus women earn will actually determine who gets to afford the devices, the cost of continually buying bundles or internet broadband connections at home, everything from how we're gendered and socialized in terms of who gets to speak up, who gets to feel that their voice counts. And so all these factors, we see them are actually lining up.
Experts say in developing countries like Kenya, women are less likely to have smartphones and data plans.
Men are more excited in smartwatches as compared to women. I've just told it's because they're excited about the technology. More men are into technology as compared to women.
Sambuli says that kind of stereotyping starts early and contributes to the gender gap in digital literacy.
So there's been a lot of these notions that are sometimes unspoken but are very sort of like embedded in societies. Girls should do the softer stuff in school, the humanities, which are very important, don't get me wrong. But you know, the hard stuff, the engineering, the technology, the math, if a girl sort of like is not really feeling it, it's cool, just go do the, you know, the humanities stuff. So those things have been inculcated over time.
Like in our school, accessing a computer lab, it was only accessible to girls for a few hours, but for boys they could go for more hours than girls.
GSMA Intelligence, which analyzes global mobile operator data, says 57% of Kenyan women who own mobile phones have never used them to access the internet, compared to 39% of men. In a recent study of 10 developing countries, including Kenya, the World Wide Web Foundation found that the top reason poor urban women gave for not going online is that they don't know how.
It matters because at the end of the day, if we're saying this is for everyone, we can't turn a blind eye to the fact that just because we spread out the internet, go you forth and spread masts or whatever, we can assume that everybody will be connected. It means we're missing out on ideas. We're missing out on people who would be creating, people who would be generating ideas and contributing to a new ecosystem that's becoming the pillar of many of our lives. So we have to factor that in. We have to monitor it. We have to be very deliberate with the investments that go in to make sure we understand who's not connected and why, and how can we actually take this to them in a way that actually empowers them and actually lifts them up from whatever divide is holding them in a different space.
Well, now for more on women in technology, let's get to Orlando, Florida, the venue of the Grace Hopper Celebration, a 3-day conference designed to bring together women in computing to discuss research and career interest. For the details, VOA's Michelle Quinn joins us live from Florida. Now, Michelle, first, just let us kind of into what is the significance of this conference?
This is a really amazing conference because there's 18,000 participants, mostly women from all over the world. About 60-some countries have come here to Orlando, Florida to talk about women in technology. And it's the biggest, largest gathering of women in technology in the world.
Tell us more about the attendees. How diverse? Where are they from?
They are from, I've met people from Africa, Asia, Europe, and of course the United States, South America. They are either people who are students or they're executives. It's the whole range here. Some are kind of technologists, people who work in technology, and some are, you know, communication specialists. So it's kind of the whole range of jobs in technology are here.
And we know that today, Wednesday, is the first day of the event. Who are some of those slated to speak at that conference?
Well, we've already heard today from Melinda Gates. And Melinda Gates is, you know, with her husband Bill Gates, are responsible for the Gates Foundation. She also used to work at Microsoft. I think she was a product manager. And so she talked about how to bring more women into the tech industry. And she had some really interesting ideas. She said, we kind of get too focused on getting certain girls interested in math and then science, the computer science. And if they don't get in the certain track, then they're not in. She had this idea of making the pipeline bigger and have many, many entry points.
Now, very quickly, we know that Voice of America will be having a big event on Thursday at Town Hall. Can you quickly just let us know what it will be aiming to achieve?
Sure. The Town Hall is going to talk about the digital gender divide. So around the world, that's about girls and women having access to technology, particularly in Africa, where I think 1 in 7 women have access to technology compared to 1 in 5 men, and in the most developing countries, or the least developing countries. So one panel is going to talk about why is this happening, what can be done to change this, how are individual women trying to make change. A second panel is going to look at women trying to get into the tech industry in the U.S., in Canada, all around the world where there's a tech industry, and kind of the stereotypes, the barriers women face.
Michelle, thank you very much. We hope to catch up with you again later in the week. That's
great.
Thanks. Viewers, Michelle Quinn reporting live from Orlando in Florida.